money-back guarantee.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Real guys, real results.
I'm Michael, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Put down the pie, pick up the phone, and get with the program today. Get 1 week of new NutriCurve bars free, and 1 week of new NutriPro free. Plus, 1 week of all new turbo boosters to rev your metabolism free.
The food was delicious. This is perfect for men, especially guys who don't want to cook.
So get off the couch. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes, and we'll even throw in FedEx shipping free. Lose up to 18 pounds and 8 inches overall in your first month.
It's not that hard. You eat the food, you lose the weight.
Go online or call 888-533-THIN and get Nutrisystem for Men with bars, boosters free.
Oh, you brought Butch.
Yeah.
He's looking at me right now, isn't he?
Yep.
Butch is like an old soul that just hates my guts.
You can never have too many faithful companions. That's why I got a Subaru Crosstrek.
Love is out there. Find it in a Subaru Crosstrek.
All right, what a crazy day it was. Better than almost 1,200-point swing. If you count everything today, we had, almost a 2,000-point swing yesterday. Up is up, and so this is a big improvement here. But a reminder to the White House, and something that was briefly addressed at the presser today, that if you're going to want to own it on the way up, you have to own it on the way down. The Hill's editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack, on how that could play. Obviously, if I'm at the White House, Bob, I'm encouraged by what happened today and more prone to talk about that than I am the last 3 trading days. Or maybe the lesson here is focus on other news that has to do with finance, like the economy and jobs and maybe those tax cuts. What do you think?
I definitely think that you're going to get the blame or the credit on the stock market and the economy, for that matter. And I think it's good for the president to talk up the economy. That's what presidents have to do. But maybe go into that well a little less often, certainly State of the Union, making the case on the election campaign trail. But Trump has gone there a lot, and that's what got the White House a bit jittery this week. And remember, a lot of these gains in 2017 were because the expectation that tax reform was going to pass, and it did pass. And now the question is, okay, now that we're seeing it in paychecks, what does that do to the market?
Yeah, there are a lot of technicians who go way beyond all those fundamentals, Bob, and I'm a pretty boring guy, and when they're boring me explaining this, I know that, wow, we are on boring steroids here. But the gist of it is that you hit certain levels or an inflection point where rates back up to the point where a 10-year note, for example, a widely and very much used instrument to get everything from homes to cars, had gotten to the point that it was the highest it had been in 4 years. And they still fear interest rates are going to go still higher for all the right reasons, an improving economy, wage growth, and the good news is actually going to work against the market. Again, I don't expect you to be a market soothsayer here, but if they're right about that, that could be a problem, ironically, for the president. Good news gets to be bad news now.
Yes, and it does get complicated, especially with the inflation, the interest rates, and you're right. Those experts who know a lot more about the market than I do, they definitely are saying this may not be a rosy scenario. And remember, this is when Republicans, they've had a good run. They've had a bit of a spring in their step at their Republican retreat. They passed the tax cut law, and the polls have started to change in their direction. Not dramatically, but certainly Democrats are a little nervous now. So I think where we go from here is going to play a big role in whether Democrats can take back the House or the Senate.
I've heard a lot of former administration officials from the Clinton years, back to the Reagan years, the Bush Senior and Bush Junior years, say that if the market is going your way, that should be self-explanatory. What you've got to pound is the improvement in jobs, as this president has, the improvement in GDP, as this president has, the kind of things that people will relate to, and it's icing on the cake if the markets are going your way as well. What do you make of that?
I totally agree with that. Think of what Trump's slogan was, Make America Great Again. Now, yes, it was Make America Safe Again to some degree. Right. But when he said that, he was talking about the economy, and there was so much unrest. If you listen to Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton on the campaign trail criticizing the economy, you would think that there was a Republican in the White House as opposed to Barack Obama.
Yeah. Speaking of that, one thing that I just floored me really with the criticism that a lot of Democrats have given the president about the run-up in the markets, and that it was, fell on deaf ears because so many people weren't involved in the markets. Then all of a sudden they started turning south, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh my God, look what this is doing to the average person out there." I found that a little weird.
Yeah, a little hypocritical, but I do think that, generally speaking, Republicans do feel confident that going forward they're able to get a lot done at the end of last year, and they're feeling the wind shift a little bit, but we got a long way to go.
We do have a long way to go, and again, we don't want to interpret or overinterpret either the last couple of days or what happened today. But again, most investors, are generally inclined to like it when stocks go up, not so when they go down. We'll see, my friend. Thank you very, very much. All right, I told you yesterday when we were talking about the market in the middle of a free fall here, they like to see encouraging developments when either companies buy back their stock or let's say a billionaire says, "I'm buying some stock." Well, we didn't hear much about companies. We did hear about a billionaire doing that, Mark Cuban. He was buying yesterday, and he was reaping dividends today after this.
Running a business is not for the faint of heart. Luckily, Office Depot Office Max is here to take care of you. With print services, done right, on time, guaranteed. Expert tech support. And this week, all Office Depot brand paper is buy one, get one, 50% off. Plus, never run out with an Office Depot paper subscription. Subscribe today at OfficeDepot.com/subscriptions. Taking care of business. How did you talk me into this? This is crazy. Horns. Watch the horns. Okay.
What you don't see can hurt you. If you just monitor your credit, you can miss certain identity theft threats. LifeLock sees more, like your personal information on the
really into this car, but how do I know if I'm getting a good deal? I tell TrueCar my zip and which car I want, and TrueCar shows the range of prices people in my area actually paid for the same car, so I know if I'm getting a great price. This is how car buying was always meant to be. This is TrueCar.
I lost 25 pounds on Jenny Craig.
From a top diet 8 years straight comes the all-new Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks with food you love. Eat 6 times a day or cooking.
Breakfast, it's all laid out for you.
So you can get on with your day and watch the pounds melt off. Start Rapid Results for $16 plus the cost of food and get 100.
Hey, we didn't have a homeowner's claim last year, so Allstate's giving us money back on our bill.
Seems fair. Didn't use it.
Wish we got money back on gym memberships.
Get money back.
Hilarious.
With claim-free rewards. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
They're watching, they're listening, they're invading. How major tech companies are tracking your every move and what you need to do now. The Explosive Report on Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Did you know that every time you use the internet, you put yourself at risk? Not only can your internet service provider see every website you visit, hackers can see your transaction details. Strangers can monitor.
We didn't want the headaches of demolition.
Or the days without our bathroom. Then a friend told us about Bathfitter and their unique tub-over-tub process. There's no demolition, and they install in as little as a day. They also have a seamless wall for a watertight fit. And Bathfitter has a lifetime guarantee. What a difference. Finally, a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
Stand by for terminal count.
All right, you saw this once. It really was impressive. This is the biggest rocket the world has ever seen since the Saturn V. That was the booster rocket, of course, for Apollo. That was 50 years ago from the same launch pad. A lot of those Apollos lifted off from, of course, this was the big Elon Musk undertaking, where everything went according to plan. We're awaiting a presser from Musk. The launch and the landing, these boosters that successfully landed on a ship position not too far offshore there. Really an amazing undertaking here. So we'll be hearing from him. He's been needed as sort of a boost in this regard. He's had a number of troubles with his Tesla vehicles and underproduction problems and all the rest. Not so much when it comes to rockets right now. But we'll monitor that. Also monitoring the rocket booster called the Dow for a change. And there is a bullish and a bearish argument on this big advance and what's behind it, whether you trust this or you don't. First the bull, then the bear. Are you nervous after today?
No, I'm not really nervous. I think it was necessary. I still think there's uncertainty about what the market does next. But, when you have a run-up like we've had since the election, markets don't go in a straight line forever. And so something had to happen. It was just a question of what and when and how much. The market could go down a lot more. I don't know. But over the long haul, I think we'll be okay.
If this is truly going to be a bear market, there's a long way to go, Neil.
How much longer?
Well, when we spoke last time, I told you I thought that we were facing a bear market at least as bad as the 07 to 09 bear market. So that was over 50%.
That's right.
And I still think that's going to happen.
All right, so Peter Eliades there, the famed market contrarian, who says that don't pay attention to what happens in a day. The trend is not going to be your friend. Mark Cuban says quite the opposite. The trend is going to be your friend. He put money on it, Mark Cuban, by investing in a ETF that mirrors the performance of the S&P 500. So who's right longer term in all of this? Let's go to Dennis Gartman, investor extraordinaire. Dennis, what do you think?
Well, thank you, Neil. Thanks for having me on. I listened to Peter Eliades this afternoon, and I have to say that I tend to agree with him. Market tops or peaks of some consequence are made in volatility. Market bottoms are usually made in quiet, lonesome, boring type of effects. And the volatility that we've had in the past several days, I think, is indicative of a market that's making a peak. The public is terribly involved. The amount of money that flowed into the ETF market from the public in December and January was historically almost unprecedented. And it's that type of activity that bothers me some. Yes, the economy's strong, I understand that, but what happens at the end of bull markets when stocks peak is that money moves out of the capital market and moves into plant and equipment and labor, and that's exactly what we're seeing. The monetary authorities have stopped supplying reserves to the system. They had begun doing so back in 07, 08, and 09 when it was needed. Now it's not. And capital is moving away from the capital markets and moving to strengthening economic activity. I think this is indicative of a peak, not a market that I'd want to be an aggressive buyer of. No question about that.
Interesting. It's still too early to tell, but gosh, that I didn't discover that in the 1929 crash and the week of the 87 crash. There were periods punctuated by an uptick in activity and then back to the downdraft as there was after 9/11 when the markets finally opened almost a week later. So we can expect that, but you always hear from certainly the administration today and others, fundamentals are sound. Now, of course, I remember that too from Republican and Democratic administrations in every hit the markets had. Fundamentals are sound. Our economy is sound. Yeah. Earnings, certainly, if you want to add them in the latest batch, 8 out of 10 of the S&P 500 stocks reporting better than expected news, et cetera, et cetera. And that is the saving grace. You're not buying it. Why not?
Well, in the past, you go back to 1973, the economy was doing very well. Things were going along swimmingly until we had an oil embargo, but things were doing very well. Read newspapers from August, September, October of 1973, just before the stock market began a 2.5-year bear market. You would have thought that the economy was doing very well, and indeed it was. You go back to the recessions
Barron's laying out the foundation. I don't know why I'm criticizing a fellow publication in our empire here, but saying that the sun looked bright, for investments early that year in 1973. But go ahead.
Sure, and it looked good in 1980 and 1981 before those two recessions hit. The stock markets make their peak during periods of time when euphoria is abundant. And I think that's my major concern at this point. The public is involved. The price to earnings multiples are extremely high. Price to book values are extremely high.
So even now you say that the multiples are high. They haven't got beaten down enough to make the markets look a tad more affordable to you?
Well, they're a tad more affordable, but I'm afraid they might get a good deal more affordable before this is over. Again, Neil, markets make their peaks in volatility and they make their lows in quiet, somnolent, lonely types of trading. This is clearly anything other than quiet, somnolent, lonely trading. This is exuberance, this is volatility, and that, to me, is indicative of a peak. Does that mean we can't go higher? We could, but I have my very serious doubts that we shall.
Well, it worked, Dennis. I'm no longer feeling like supper now, so the diet trick worked like a charm. Thank you very, very much. Dennis Gartman, the Gartman editor. Very, very, very bright guy on all of this. I want to bounce that off of Tom Farley. The name should ring a bell. He is the president of the New York Stock Exchange. We're very happy to have him. Tom, welcome to you.
Good afternoon, Neil. It's a lot better afternoon, up 500 points on the Dow than down 1,000 yesterday.
It does make a big psychological difference. I was talking to a bear and other bears who say the problem isn't so much the fundamentals, their sound, or what the exchanges are doing, their sound. It has to do with the fact that we have more exotic products than we do underlying stocks, more ETFs and mutual funds and special flavors that, you could trade off volatility than underlying stocks. And that is a prescription for trouble. What do you say?
You referenced a lot in that question.
I did.
Talked about, you started with the fundamentals. The last overnight that I can remember that was so volatile was the election night. And I think we all need to take a deep breath and realize the Dow is up 40% since that night. GDP's up 1%, unemployment's down 1%, everything's going well. And despite this volatility, we're going to be okay. With respect to the types of products we have in this market, of course, we have the underlying securities like the great companies listed here on the New York Stock Exchange. We have those core ETFs. For example, ETFs on broad-based indices that have allowed retail investors to have a sophisticated risk management tool. And then we have the inverse and leveraged instruments on more complicated indices like the VIX. And already there's going to be a debate about the suitability of those products, the disclosures of those products, given the events of the last couple of days. And, we'll be a participant in that.
All right. Do you worry, though, that as some say that we've gotten too clever for words here, that all of a sudden, given all of these different options for stock, that now eclipse the number of shares of stock that we have, that something is wrong with that picture?
Neil, I feel pretty good about the market here. I don't want to be Pollyannish because I'm aware we've had extraordinary volatility, but the markets have actually functioned quite well over the last couple of days. We've had this extraordinary period of slowly increasing prices. We had to have a pullback at some time. We had to have a period of volatility. And the fact that it's happened in such an orderly fashion should actually give us all confidence. I have empathy for your viewers that have a position that lost money in the last couple of days. That's not to be minimized, but by and large, the markets are working.
How much is written and said about mood and psychology, and it can easily get whipsawed. You're down for a few days, you have a big hit, people get burnt, they get nervous. You're up a lot, they forget what they were nervous about. Do you ever worry about these extremes that a lot of people pounced on today? We're back, but they forget what happened yesterday. What's real?
I do. Yeah, I do. The psychological aspect of investing and trading is real. And in fact, one of the reasons I'm coming on with you is there's been a good deal of anxiety, maybe even a borderline hysteria over the last couple of days. And the last thing I want to see is see people make decisions about their portfolio, about their retirement savings because of panic. Again, the markets are behaving appropriately, and decisions to buy or sell to the portfolio should, in most cases, be made with a many years horizon, not a many days horizon.
Real quickly, the president has been criticized in the past for riding this market up and quoting it. How do you feel about that? Whether he should on the upside, should not on the downside, should on both sides, what?
I mean, I've worked quite a bit with the administration. In fact, I had a call with the SEC just before I came on, and I have a call with Treasury when I get off. So I appreciate that they're watching the markets and they're asking the right questions. But the conversations I've had with the administration have been more about the economy than they have the individual number of the Dow or the S&P. And I think we all take comfort in the fact that the economy is headed the right direction.
All right.
Asset prices are still very close to all-time highs, Neil. Wages, we saw the growth on Friday. So, again, I feel pretty good about the underlying economy.
Tom Farley, thank you very, very much. The New York Stock Exchange Group president joining us. Well, at the big board. Well, the president talked up a shutdown today, and the market still went higher. Why is that?
I accept I don't bike the miles I used to. I even accept I have a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, a type of irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. But no matter where I ride, I go for my best. So if there's something better than warfarin, I'll go for that too. Eliquis. Eliquis reduced the risk of stroke better than warfarin, plus had less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis had both.
Don't stop taking Eliquis unless your doctor tells you to, as stopping increases your risk of having a stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking Eliquis, you may bruise more easily, and it may take longer than usual for any bleeding to stop. Seek immediate medical care for sudden signs of bleeding, like unusual bruising. Eliquis may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
I'm still going for my best, and for Eliquis.
Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
When our country used to flex its muscle with battleships like the USS Iowa, the world would listen. It's time we return to the America I remember. Hi, I'm William Devane. There are dangerous forces everywhere pulling our country apart, threatening our economy and our way of life. That's why I'm going to do two things: support our military and buy gold from Rosalind Capital. I've never felt safe relying on paper money to protect my assets. That's why I buy gold from Rosalind. With Rosalind, what you order is what you get. No gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle. We're all safer with our ships patrolling the seas. And my assets are a whole lot of gold from Rosalind Capital. So ask yourself, are you safe?
Call now to get your free gold, silver, and IRA kits. Call 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900.
Growing up, we were German. We danced in a German dance group. I wore lederhosen. When I first got on Ancestry, I was really surprised that I wasn't finding all of these Germans in my tree. I decided to have my DNA tested through Ancestry DNA. The big surprise was we're not German at all. 52% of my DNA comes from Scotland and Ireland. So I traded in my lederhosen for a kilt.
Ancestry has many paths to discovering your story. Get started for free at Ancestry.com.
All right, things kind of returning to normal today, and that we're focusing again on things like earnings. Disney out, Chipotle out, both beating estimates, both reminding investors. We're back, in our case, in 60 seconds.
All together. A little to the left.
Easy. All right. We've all got places to go.
Washington crossing the Delaware Turnpike? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much money Sean saved by switching to Geico.
Big man with a horn.
15 minutes could save you 50% or more.
We want everybody to be the best they can be. And so at Massage Envy, we're committed to being the best we can be. It's required that we're carefully selected and thoroughly trained. And we're dedicated to maintaining a comfortable, professional environment for our clients. So you can be confident in us. We're confident you'll be at your very best.
Now get a free session when you join Massage Envy.
We're going to get it stopped. And if we have to shut it down because the Democrats don't want safety, and unrelated but still related, they don't want to take care of our military, then shut it down. We'll go with another shutdown.
All right, that's a big deal. When the President of the United States is saying, you know what, if it comes to it, yeah, shut the government down. I immediately wanted to take a peek at how the Dow was reacting to that. You know what? Crickets. Nothing. The shutdown threat happened. Stocks moved up and up and up. As you know, finished the day more than 500 points up. Fox News Channel's Mike Emanuel on that threat, how likely that is. What do you think, Mike?
Well, good afternoon, Neil. The House is due to vote later this afternoon on a 6-week government funding extension, so it sounds like they're making plans to keep the government up and running. It would also include more money for the military through the end of the fiscal year, which is popular with defense hawks and conservatives.
Remember what Schumer said during his last Schumer shutdown? He said he did not want to hold the military hostage. This gives our ability to fund the military completely while we figure out the rest of the agreement for everything else.
That's a reference to Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, who has warned this House plan is dead on arrival in the Senate. Schumer wants more money for domestic spending as well. Sources say the big four leaders here on Capitol Hill, McConnell, Schumer, Ryan, and Pelosi are close to an agreement to boost both domestic and military spending levels for the next 2 years.
I think we're on the way to getting an agreement, and on the way to getting an agreement very soon.
And then a few minutes later, the Senate Democratic leader came out and said his side is upbeat too.
I'm very hopeful. Very hopeful. Nothing's done yet. There are some outstanding issues. I know you're going to ask me which they are, and I'm not going to tell you, so don't waste your questions. But I am very hopeful that we can come to an agreement very soon.
The thinking is the 6-week government funding extension goes over to the Senate after the House votes later today. Then the Senate could potentially pop in this government funding package for the next 2 years. And then the appropriators could fill in the blanks after that. Neil.
All right, Mike, thank you very, very much. There was a little bit of news today, indications that Uncle Sam might have to borrow $1 trillion. You heard me, $1 trillion with a T, for a likely deficit we're facing this year. Former South Carolina Republican Senator Jim DeMint doesn't much like it when it happens under Republicans or Democrats. But the debt and the cost of carrying that debt, especially as interest rates begin to rise, well, it's not going to get any better. Senator, very good to have you. Thank you.
Neil, it's good to be back with you.
What do you make of this? $1 trillion. I mean, it is what it is, and it would, special circumstances, all of that. But man, we're digging a deeper hole.
Well, Neil, I was a businessman who ran for Congress because I was concerned about our debt 20 years ago, and it was less than $5 trillion. Now we're busting through $20 trillion. We're on an unsustainable course. Almost everybody in Washington knows that. The fact that we can't address it, the fact that the Democrats won't allow us to fund the military unless they get more for domestic spending, it's just very concerning as a citizen looking in from the outside. But I think Trump is playing this right, Neil. He's putting his cards on the table. If the Democrats want to hold the military and our government hostage to get their amnesty program across the line, then let them do it. I think they'll suffer for that, and he'll probably make them pay for it.
Well, you know what I think is going to happen, and if I'm wrong on this, I'll burn this tape or digital thing, whatever it is. I think both sides are going to get what they want. There's already talk in the Senate. They have a master plan to get a 2-year budget going. I don't know how believable that is, but it would allow Republicans to see more money for defense, Democrats more money for non-defense programs, and no one will give a tinker's cuss about the debt that will be piling up.
Neil, that's what happens every year.
So it's going to happen again.
You don't get $20 trillion in debt without a lot of bipartisan
I thought when Republicans took over, they would stop that nonsense. What happened?
Well, I'd hope so, but now they control all the branches, and we're looking at $1 trillion of debt. And that's we're taxed too low in America. It's because we spend too much. There are billions and billions of dollars of duplication and waste in our government. A number of people have pointed those out over many years, but we're not even addressing one of those. And that just tells me, and I think every American, that they're not serious about spending, and eventually that is going to hurt a lot of people.
No, I think you're right, Senator. Thank you very much. A crazy news day here. Always good seeing you, my friend.
Good to see you, Neil.
All right, you guys probably know there's something called a volatility index, a fear index. But did you know there's something called a Velocity Shares Daily Inventory Short-Term Exchange Index and a Pro Shares VIX Short-Term Futures ETF Index, which is meant to counter the effect of buying against a fear index that is getting too fearful? In other words, you can trade on fear, and there are instruments to do this. That's the problem, my friends. These exotic trading instruments now vastly outnumber the stocks you normally would trade. Whatever happened to buying and selling based on, well, the underlying product? You cannot escape market volatility. The problem is there are some bunion heads who think we can, and it's costing you money. I'll explain.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when this guy got a flat tire in the middle of the night, so he got home safe.
Yeah, my dad says their insurance doesn't have that. What?
You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Introducing the brand new South Beach Diet. I'm Jesse James Decker, and if y'all want to know how I stay in shape, I do it with the South Beach Diet.
Lose up to 9 pounds and 3 inches overall in your first 2 weeks. Order your 28-day plan today with fully prepared meals delivered to your breakfast, lunches, dinners, even snacks.
I lost 38 pounds.
It's safe and healthy weight loss, easy to follow, and it works.
I lost 30 pounds on the South Beach diet.
South Beach is a low-carb, low-sugar, high-protein program that burns fat and transforms your metabolism.
I lost 24 pounds.
Order your 28-day plan right now and receive a week of our all-new South Beach Complete Shakes free. They're packed with 20 grams of protein, no added sugar, a great source of probiotics, vitamins, and they taste great. Call or go online in the next 2 minutes and we'll even throw in free FedEx shipping. Lose up to 9 pounds and 3 inches overall in your first 2 weeks.
Trust me, the South Beach diet works. Call or click right now.
Call 888-751-FIRM or go to southbeachdiet.com and get 1 week of shakes free.
So, what is love? I don't know. Puppies? Candy? What? I got nothing. You gotta call the love doctor. Maybe. Love is somebody that likes or likes someone. Something when you make people laugh. At China's hospitals for children, it's so much more. Love is being able to stand. At China's hospital, love is being independent. Love is dancing. At Shriners Hospital for Children, love is a new smile. Love is a new Prosecco Lake. There's $19 a month from people like you can help Shriners Hospitals for Children help people like me. Right now, there are children just like me that need the life-saving help of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Will you let them know you care with a gift of just 63 cents a day? When you call today, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and as a reminder of the love you gave to a child in need. Will you send your love to the rescue today? Call now and give a child like me the gift of hope. Thank you. Thank you.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go online and send your love to the rescue.
Your call says you care.
Get a free mesothelioma book from mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. That's why we offer this free book.
Call toll-free at 1-800-745-BOOK.
You know, did you know you could invest in fear? You could invest in volatility. There's something called a volatility index, the VIX, as it's known. And it shot up for a while today to close to 50, 49.21. Generally eased down a little bit. But in case you think that that is too scary for you and you want to counter that position or sort of leverage against it, you can invest in Velocity shares, something called Daily Inverse. I don't even want to go on the full name. It's just a mouthful. There's another one that you're going to ProShares short, the VIX short-term futures ETF, meant to counter both of those. I only raise these not to sort of dull your senses, although I like it when I do that, but that we have gotten to be elaborate in our choice of boutique investment schemes to think that that would outlaw market rises and falls. And it's something I want to pursue with former UBS America's chairman, Robert Wolf. Whatever you think of his politics, conservative, liberal, he is a brilliant financial mind. So that's the problem I had, Robert. So we have more of these little boutique devices that we're apparently told will shield people from the type of thing we saw. And it didn't. They don't.
Well, when I was at the Fed Lehman weekend, I thought we were done with financial engineering. But we're in a, as you and I have discussed, this is a real Jekyll and Hyde market, Neil. On one side, you have high fiscal concerns with the deficit, debt, protectionist environment. On the other side, you have, new sugar. Instead of quantitative easing, it's the new tax cuts. And you have decent growth and decent profits. And the question is, will the bulls beat the bears or the bears beat the bulls? It feels to me that the bulls will beat the bears in the short term because people put money to work faster than they take money out.
Well, that's a problem. I mean, that is it. And I don't mind. All those things you mentioned are sort of macro fundamentals that I can get my hands around and understand. But I do think in almost every economic cycle where we see a hit or market cycle, be it now with all these elaborate instruments that we're told would shield you from the type of thing that happens in sell-offs, they didn't. to portfolio insurance back in '87. It didn't. To mortgage-based derivatives or these big funds that you could invest in and dump all that money into, and it didn't. So I'm wondering when we're going to wake up and realize that no one has found a way to cleverly shield themselves from these things outside of maybe shrewd financial, planning.
Well, the truth is program trading and algorithmic trading has really taken over the market. So you've lost really the pulse of what I would say experience and cycles because, Neil, I've been in the business 30 years now, and sometimes cycles repeat themselves and sometimes they don't, and experience counts. And I think right now we're actually have moved away from that. There's a lot less analytics and a lot more programmatics.
It's algorithms of trade that are just at the push of a button and vastly accentuate these wild swings.
Yeah, you see higher highs and lower lows.
Absolutely.
The pendulum goes, an extreme case each way. I mean, you had a great show today where you're talking, I think you said, almost a 1,200 point swing.
Yeah.
I think we've had that, a few times in our history, other than one direction. I'm talking a 1,200 point swing. So I think we're in a new normal, and this new normal for this year is going to be high volatility because the fact is, at the end of the day, we don't know where growth is going to come out. We have a rising rate environment, and we really don't know whether this corporate tax rate is going to impact wages long term or not. These are just unknowns.
Yeah,
and
a little tough to tell. But now, Robert, we'll have to watch it very, very closely. But that volatility index we're just showing as Robert was speaking
crazy
shows you how crazy it is, and it's second by second. Robert, thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil.
And again, I know I'm sounding a Luddite here, not like the old grandpas that get off my lawn or that I walk 6 miles to school uphill both ways. But I did walk 6 miles to school both ways, and it was uphill. A little more to this.
From director Clint Eastwood.
You ever just feel like life is just catapulting you towards some greater purpose?
Comes an incredible true story, portrayed by the actual heroes who lived it. The 1517 to Paris, rated PG-13.
USAA to me means peace of mind. We had a power outage for 5 days total. We lost a lot of food. We actually filed a claim to USAA to replace that spoiled food. We really appreciated that. We're the Weber family, and we're USAA members for life.
Save up to 65%. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
How does this Westminster champion keep his joints moving?
I give CJ Cosequin every day. In my opinion, it's the gold standard. CJ's been on it since he was 2 years old.
Cosequin Joint Health Supplements, available at veterinarians and pet aisles nationwide.
Twice deported, drunk driving. Now, 2 Americans have lost their lives inside another suspected illegal immigrant crime. Todd Rokita makes his call for action on the next Fox News at Night.
I'm all about my bed.
This mattress is dangerously comfortable.
When I get in, I literally say, ah.
America loves the Leesa mattress. We have more 5-star customer reviews than any other mattress of its kind.
This bed hugs my body.
I'm now a morning person.
Hello, bed of my dreams.
Discover how Leesa's innovative design provides an extraordinary sleep experience. Then place your order. We'll ship your Leesa mattress right to your door so you can enjoy a risk-free trial at home.
I love my Leesa.
Today is gonna be great.
I could stay here all day.
Sleep on it for up to 100 nights and love it, or you'll get a full refund. Returns are free and easy. Go to buyleesa.com and get $100 off. And free shipping, too.
You need this bed.
Just because you're cooking at home doesn't mean you can't travel the globe. Playdate is the meal kit for people who love food. So you can explore the world without ever leaving your kitchen. Our diverse menus include 20 globally inspired chef-designed recipes and 2 delicious desserts every week. And our flexible plans fit every table and schedule. Get everything you need to make dinners in one completely customized box. From pre-portioned, high-quality ingredients to easy-to-follow recipe cards, so you can create home-cooked meals that will impress your entire family. Let Plated be your passport to unforgettable dinners every week.
Get 25% off your first 4 weeks at plated.com/25x4.
All right, the great thing about going to our Nicole Petalides on a day like this is she's been right with the trade.
Points, and we closed up 567 points. The volatility is certainly part of the action that we've been seeing here, but they overall feel like the fundamentals are still good news. We're still seeing good news in the American economy abroad, but they're watching where to get in, and that's really the key. Where to get in on something that you really want, because you don't want to catch a falling knife. The one piece of news that people are watching is the concern that maybe the bottom's not in, because we've had that zigzag back and forth action today. We didn't really test those lows, so that's something that they have spoken of. But big picture, they still think this market is headed to the upside because of all the elements, not only corporate earnings, but what we're seeing out of Washington.
Yeah, that could be the fundamentals. Now, a lot of people are wondering, as you're speaking, why we're going back to January 26th to show how, for example, a lot of big names did since that time. That's when the averages, their all-time highs, and it would be that correction since for a while.
Which
we were over
10%
on the Dow. Right, exactly. And now when you look at some of these issues, that it sounds to me like they're telling you they're not convinced this is over with, but that they're relieved.
But that's okay. But you have to say that's okay. I know you've spoken with Mark Cuban recently, who said he bought into the S&P 500.
Right.
He wants to pick more Amazon and more Netflix. They're okay with a little bit of a pullback. Don't forget what we have seen since November of 2016. All up arrows, records after records. We went from 18,000 to 26,000. So it's okay to have a little bit of a pullback and try and find some valuation and get in there at a better level, I would say. So they're okay with that.
All right, Nicole, thank you. We're okay with your great coverage. Thank you very, very much. Nicole Petalides, she's been in the line of fire with all of this on the corner of Wall and Broad. Now, what happens tomorrow? What if I told you it depends a couple of hours from now what happens in Asia? I'll explain.
This is the story of Green Mountain Coffee Roasters Dark Magic, told in the time it takes to brew your cup. First, we head to Vermont and go to our coffee shop and meet Dave. Hey. Why is Dark Magic so spellbindingly good, he asks? Let me show you. Let's go. So we climb, hike, see a bear. Whoa. Reach the top. Dave says Dark Magic is a bold blend of coffee with rich flavors of Uganda, Sumatra, Colombia, and other parts of South America. Like these mountains, each amazing on their own, but together, magical. All for a smoother tasting cup of coffee. Green Mountain Coffee Roasters, packed with goodness.
I was up and down with my weight my entire life.
When diets don't work, it's easy to quit. From a top diet 8 years straight comes the new Rapid Results.
If you see immediate results, you stick with it.
Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks. With one-on-one support, you'll see change fast. Eat 6 times a day. The secret is what you eat and when. Start Rapid Results to lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food and get $100 in free food. Hurry, call now.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
TrueCar is great for finding new cars. You're smart, you already knew that. But it's also great for finding the